Hello, everyone. We're here with Coach Burke. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So, when did you realize coaching was something you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think when I was playing overseas after I graduated from Louisville, I realized that that wasn't going to be something I was going to, sustain for a long period of time. It wasn't really my cup of tea being over there and being away from my family. So I wanted a way where I could still stay in basketball and still get my basketball fix. And I always just really, in the later parts of my career at Louisville, had an interest in the coaching side and asking questions and wondering why we were doing the things the way we were doing them, and why we had success, why we didn't. And so I always kind of thought the game from a coach's standpoint. And obviously, playing for Jeff Walls and one of the best coaches in the country, you're curious about things, you learn a lot, and that always really interested me, especially towards the tail end of my career. So got my feet wet in it and just realized it was something that I really loved.
Yeah, it's always interesting learning the method to the madness. So, I love coaching just like you. I'm gonna name a couple names: Eddie Griffin, Kayla McBride, Rip Hamilton, Alyssa Thomas, Swin Cash. This is Pennsylvania. This is Pennsylvania basketball. Um, if you were to use one word to describe a Pennsylvania basketball player, what would it be and why?
I would say tough, blue collar, just gritty. I mean, I know that's more than one word, but I think those all fall under that same category of just toughness. And I don't know, just something about kind of that tri-state area for me, like that Northeast Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York. Like you get a different type of kid up there. We got this chip on our shoulder, this blue collar attitude about us, and this toughness that is just in our blood up there. I don't know what it is, but it's really true.
Yeah, yeah. I love the jersey mention. Good one, coach. Good one.
Thank you.
Best player you played against while you were in high school at Pittsburgh. I mean Pennsylvania. Like the best kid you like, oh, this kid giving me buckets, or this kid's really hard to guard, or you're watching your teammates playing and like this kid is really good, you know.
Yeah, it was not necessarily in like high school ball, but I played AAU in Philadelphia, and it was the time of, my entire AAU team went Division I. And I played with Elena Deladon, Caroline Doty was there in Philly, just those types of kids. Every single like I said, every single kid on my AAU team went Division I. And so when you're playing that Philadelphia area AAU basketball, I mean, there's just Division I players just left and right that you're playing against every single night. So it's a battle up there, especially when you're talking about those bigger cities, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, AAU, and Pennsylvania. It's a big time stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm. If you were to use one word to describe your coaching style, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh, I mean, I'll use the word that everybody else uses, and that's fiery. Very fiery, passionate. I get after my players, I get after my staff. I hold everybody accountable to a really high standard, but we have a lot of fun. We get the most out of our players. We have fun coaching basketball. They have fun playing for us because we're excited about what we're doing. We're excited about executing on the defensive end of the floor, getting rewarded offensively. And as much as I'm going to hold my players to an extremely high standard, I'm their biggest critic, but I'm also their biggest fan. And so, yes, I'm going to let you know when you turn it over and that's not okay. And I'm also going to be the first one out on the floor slapping you on the butt when you get an and one, so like it's truly the best of both worlds, I feel like, with me and with my staff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, you played at Louisville. You mentioned that earlier, but you're not far removed from your playing days. Um, what's the biggest difference in regards to, your experience as a player and the dynamic of a basketball team then and now? Is it the work ethic? Is like, the energy within the team? Is it problem solving, communication skills? Like, what would you say is the one thing that you're like, I wish they could have what we had? And tell me one thing that they have that you don't have or you didn't have.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily so much like back then versus now, but I just think it's like, I just know what we had at Louisville, and I know what types of players that I had the privilege to play with, and I know what our culture was in that locker room and in that program. And that's what I've tried to build every single place that I've been so far, is that Louisville culture, because it doesn't matter if you have the 5 stars or the McDonald's All-Americans. When you're building your culture, it's about what you stand for, what you hold your team accountable to, what what your just habits are on a daily basis on the floor and off of it. So I know back then at Louisville, like, we just had a bunch of people that put a premium on winning, and every single decision that we made throughout our day was a decision: is this going to help our program be successful, and is this going to help our program win? And we were surrounded by people in the locker room who had the exact same mindset as you did as an individual. So not only did Louisville recruit the right talent and the right players that could obviously defend and put the ball in the hole, but you have to have it right here too, as a mindset of, is this the most important thing to you, aside from your education and that type of thing? But is this the most important thing to you? Do you want to be in the gym getting extra shots up? Are you about the culture of this program, which is doing whatever it takes to win basketball games? And so I think there's a fine line. You got to go get talent, but you got to go get people that have it up here too. So, I think you find that still today, in today's day and age, and it's all about recruiting. You find that in certain programs, you find that in certain teams. And then there's others that you don't. And again, going back to that, is winning the most important thing to you? I can compare it to today's day and age. We didn't have a ton of social media back when I played, even though it wasn't that long ago. So like, in today's players, do I get a kid that can put the ball in the hole and defend and do all that type of stuff, but her screen time is 10 hours a day? Or is her time on the shooting gun 10 hours a day? So that type of thing, I think, has changed from a landscape of social media priorities shifting. Where is your time spent? That type of stuff. So every place that I go, every culture that I try to create within our locker room has to do with, aside from getting a great education and getting your college degree, is this program and winning basketball games and the success on the court the most important thing to you? And it has to be.
Mm-hmm. So I love some of the things you talked about, your former player as well. What is the harder kid for you to deal with now as your coach? A kid with a refined skill, right? But they won't accept their role. They want to do more, or they won't, accept their role. Or the kid with natural physical gifts, untapped potential, but a so-so work ethic. Which one is the easier kid to mold, do you think?
I've had a couple of the second choice, the kid with the so-so work ethic, just because I've taken over some programs where I've, inherited those types of players. But I do my absolute best, and our staff does our absolute best in recruiting to avoid that. To me, I will take a kid with a run through the wall work ethic that's slightly less developed than a player that is a little bit more refined, more developed, and their work ethic is questionable. To me, you give me 5 players that'll run through a wall for you. Obviously, you're at the Division I level, you have to have some talent, and everybody does that plays at this level. But you get that work ethic piece, that chip on your shoulder piece. I'll deal with those kids all day, and we can raise your IQ, we can raise your skill set to an extent, we can help you develop as a player. But to me, give me that work ethic, give me that kid who wants to be in the gym, that gym rat, give me somebody that loves the game all day, over somebody that I have to pull strings to get in the gym, over somebody that I have to beg to get extra shots up, or over somebody that's not going to run through a wall for me and their teammates. So to be honest, I haven't always had the best talent on my teams. On paper, there's been so many times our team should lose, but we don't, because we have a bunch of kids who refuse to lose, who play hard as heck, and who are just not going to take no for an answer. But they weren't better on paper than the other team that we played. So I just have had a lot of success really, really taking those types of players and those types of kids with those mentalities, and just squeezing every ounce out of those guys.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Your first big break in the coaching world was Dobo, Cal State Fullerton. So the world of Dobo is interesting. It's a thankless job in lots of cases. You don't get a lot of credit for a lot of things, but let the bus be late, let the food not be right. You're flying on a trip let a kid forget their ID and they're all over you. So tough times, but you do learn a lot. Tell me about your experience there.
Yeah, that was my first job right after I got back from overseas that I talked about, kind of getting my feet wet and being able to be in a college basketball staff environment. I wasn't necessarily a coach yet, but I was in those meetings. I was in that environment. I was involved in the, daily day-to-day stuff. And so I really got to see if this is something that I want to do, seeing it from the other side after being a player. But wearing all of those hats in that director of ops position is, like you said, it's thankless, but for me, it was about getting an opportunity and getting my feet wet, getting my foot in the door, and then really, really, seeing if this is something that I want to do, which is actually coach and actually be on the floor. And to me, that entire year, getting to do all the logistics, the gear, the food, the travel, all of that, I think that was great experience. And I'm happy that I got a chance to do that. But to me, the reason I knew I wanted to coach was because sitting on the side, watching practice and sitting in those meetings and kind of just keeping quiet, I knew I had an opinion. I knew I had a strong opinion. I knew I had strong thoughts and ideas and things that I wanted to share. And it was just absolutely killing me to stand on the side or be behind the scorer's table. And so that's how I knew. I'm like, man, I'm so passionate about this. I'm not okay just sitting over here. And I think if I was, then maybe I don't think coaching would have been for me, but I was just so convicted in my thoughts and opinions and how I thought I could help our team win. And contribute more from an on-court standpoint. So really thankful for my time as a Dobo. It helped me tremendously, even to this day, be knowledgeable in certain things and be able to do certain things that I'm not above just because I'm a head coach. Like I'll go do that. I'll go plan that. I can order that food, that type of stuff. So really thankful for my year there, but it taught me that I really, truly did want to coach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Your next stop, St. Joe's, Division II in Indiana, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Really a conference from what I know. You got, Drury, Rockhurst, other good teams in that conference. So it's some high level ball. What was the hardest adjustment for you? Because you at that point in your career, you played at Louisville, Cal State Fullerton, your Division I, you have pretty good resources. Not saying the resources weren't good, I really don't know, but it's definitely an adjustment. What was the hardest adjustment for you during that time? Because obviously you're also on the floor as well. So just tell me about that experience and, resources, the good, the bad, all of it.
Yeah. I took the first opportunity that I thought felt right for me, working for a head coach that I thought was going to teach me the most, allow me to be the most hands-on and really help me develop in my young coaching career. And that was to be an assistant at the Division II level. And I know a lot of people that play Power 5 or, had the success as a player in a program that we did at Louisville and that I did as a player. How can I get to Division I as fast as possible? How can I just get there? Boom, boom, boom. I want to be on Jeff's staff right away. Like that just doesn't happen. It's not realistic. And my goal was never, how can I get to the Division I level the fastest? My goal was, how can I be the best coach that I can be? And so I took a Division II assistant job and I said, I'm going to do this thing from the bottom up. I'm going to grind and I'm going to take whatever opportunity I need to take. And I'm going to prove it at this level. Then I'm going to continue to rise and I'm going to prove it at that level. And I'm going to continue to rise and I'm going to prove it at that level. So I truly started at the bottom. But the thing about me, and I think that I take a lot of pride in, is that I played at the Power 5 level. I was fed with a silver spoon there. We had every resource imaginable. But in my professional career as a coach, I don't take jobs and act like I'm from that Louisville bloodline. Like I don't act like that. I act like I'm a team player. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'll mop the floors, wipe the backboards, whatever I have to do. I think if I had started my career with that Louisville kind of entitlement or whatever you want to call it, I don't think I would have had the success that I've had. I've had this blue collar chip on my shoulder, prove it type mentality at each level. So being at the Division II level, I was humbled really, really quickly, but I embraced it and understood what we had. And you just got to make the most out of it. I've never had the opportunity to coach at a school where we've had the best budget, the best scholarship situation, the most resources, the fanciest facility, never in my entire career. Yet we're able to recruit the correct players to come in there and bust their butt and be successful right away. So, it's been just something that I've had to learn, just because you had success as a player, or just because you've had these certain things as a player, doesn't mean that that's going to be the way it is in your coaching life. And I know a lot of people that do come into small schools or do start their coaching career at the bottom and just expect to have all these things and the bells and the whistles. And that's just not how it is. And I was a very, very realist when it came to all of that. Like, okay, tell me what we have. Okay, what is our budget? And I'm going to squeeze every penny out of that thing. Okay, what is our scholarship situation? I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to figure it out. And I'm going to do the best that I possibly can with whatever our situation is. Mm-hmm. So whatever you want to call it, like lucky or, fortunate, or just, some things have fell in place for me. But like I said, it's been a situation where I haven't, been at universities that have had the best of anything, but I think we've made the best of what we had. So definitely humbling experience to start at the Division II level and just kind of, like I said, work your way up. So.
You played at a high level, played on television. I've coached on the EYBL level, coached at Exodus, and I've coached, different programs. And I always ask the kids one question, like, hey, did you watch Alyssa Thomas play the other day? And hey, did you watch Skylar Diggins game? And it's weird to me because a lot of kids play the game. It's two things they don't do. One, they don't play in the park, which I think is weird. And two, they almost never watch their sport, especially on the women's side. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that's the case? And how can we adjust it? Because we can't ask other people to invest, in their product if we're not willing to invest in it with our time and our money ourselves. So it's a real unique thing on the girls' side, but I don't know if, this is connecting with you, or if, you see it like that, or, why do you think that's the case, and how do we fix it?
Yeah. I'll tell you the number one reason is this thing right here. Why they're not watching is because they're on TikTok probably for 4 hours every night. But, I think, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I know, I think I probably didn't watch as much basketball as I should have growing up, but I sure as heck played a lot. And then when you are watching, what are you watching? Are you just aimlessly, oh, she got a bucket? Or are you watching it with a player's or coach's mentality where you're like, man, that was a great read? Or, hey, this high ball screen action, I see that all the time. How did she have success versus how I'm not? Are you truly watching actions? Are you watching the way people defend? Are you watching the help side? Are you just ball watching? Like, how are you watching the games when you do watch them too? Because, okay, cool. I think, you could ask 10 girls in the EYBL circuit, oh yeah, Asia Wilson, she's awesome. She's, but can you tell me like what she does to have success? Can you tell me what makes her awesome? Can you tell me what makes her good? Because when you are watching, are you just looking at her stat line and following the ball up and down? Or are you truly watching it with like a player's or a coach's, set of eyes? And I don't think people are. And so, and I know I wasn't at that age, and I don't know the reason. I don't know why. But I do think it's going to help raise the level of our players coming up. I think it's going to help ratings, and it's going to help our professional league as women. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with brand or marketing, or not like accessibility. The fact that, these games aren't, very accessible to us until the playoffs, until the finals. How can we make it easier for people to be able to watch? And then, like I said, and then when you do watch, how are you watching? Even college games, high school kids watching college games. Like, are you watching to see if Buffalo fits your style of play? If we're recruiting a kid, oh yeah, coach, I watched your game tonight. Are they watching truly to see like, hey, this is the position I'm going to be playing. This is how their offense runs through that certain position. These are the sets they run for them. This is how they guard defensively. Does that fit my style? How are we watching these games? I think that's so important too.
Next step in your career, you built the program from the bottom up. You're in Arizona, NAIA. I have a couple of friends that are head coaches at that level. I love it. I love it. They always talk highly about it. Tell me about that experience. Why do you think you were so successful there?
Yeah, I had a chance right after my 1 year at the Division II level as an assistant to become a head coach, and had an opportunity to go out west to an NAIA school that didn't even have a basketball program yet. So I actually, at like 23, 24 years old, was hired to start a basketball program. And it was the most growth, most learning experience that I've had in a 3-year span over my entire career so far, because I truly had to do it all. At 23, 24 years old, you're handed the keys to an empty office and said, good luck. So I did everything from scheduling, ordering basketballs. We didn't have uniforms. I mean, there was not a basketball program, and we had to build this thing from the ground up. And then the small detail of actually recruiting an entire team. And so luckily, when I took the job, they gave me an entire year to recruit, to get a schedule together, to order equipment, to figure it out. And then in year 2, we started competing and we started playing. So those 3 years out at Embry-Riddle I'm so thankful. I'm so fortunate to truly have worn every single hat. And I didn't even have a full-time assistant. So I think those were like 3, just grind it out. Let's see if you're cut out for this year's. And we had a lot of success very, very quickly out there. And within 2 years, we're in the top 25 in the country of NAIA programs. So it was pretty awesome.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So next step, yeah, Charleston, Division II head coach. First part of the question is, what made you decide that school? Was it the resources, location, wherever the case may be? And the second part is, there are a lot of assistant coaches at the Division I level, or assistant coaches at any level, that think they're ready to handle the jump, being the first chair, make the decisions. As you look at schools and you start having interviews, and maybe you have a couple of options, what are 3 to 4 things that you think you need to have right in order to take the job? Is it administration? Resources? Because sometimes I don't want to say a job is a bad job. I'll say a job could be a harder job, if you're not more cognizant of the things that can hold you back in the long term. So what are some things, you've been in that space, you started a program, been a head coach, at a couple programs. Tell me 3 or 4 things that, a young assistant coach that may be looking to turn that corner should look for.
I love this question because I think it's so important. There are so many young assistants or young coaches at a lower level that just want to take the next job because it's a higher level, or just want to take their first head coaching opportunity. I cannot say how strongly I feel about the importance of choosing a school, not because it's the first one that wanted you to be their head coach. Yes, I know your ultimate goal may be to be a head coach, but if you take that wrong first head coaching opportunity, that will be your last head coaching stop. Because if you can't win where you go, that you've just created a dead end for your career as far as a head coach. Like, here's the thing. If I didn't win at Embry-Riddle, I don't get the Charleston job. If I don't win at Charleston, I don't get the Upstate job. If I don't win at Upstate, I don't get the Buffalo job. And so there has had to have had a lot of things go my way. Like I said, luck of the draw, getting some really good players, like playing in conferences that are winnable, those types of things. But if you don't take a job for the right reasons, you're going to have a dead end to your head. Yes, I was a head coach. Okay, great. That was 3 or 4 years and you didn't get it done. And now you're not a head coach anymore. And so I think you have to take, and I've taken every single job and every single coaching opportunity. I've gone on campus and been blessed enough to have opportunities to have, choices. But when I took the Charleston job, that wasn't the only job that I was offered. When I took the Upstate job, that was not the only job I was offered. When I took this job here at Buffalo, this was not the only job I was offered. I will go on interviews. I will get on Zooms and I will get to the point where I'm invited to campus, God willing. And when I get to campus, I take that campus visit as a recruit. That's what I do. I don't go on these interviews like I'm interviewing and I got to be all prepared and tell them what they want to hear. I'm going on these on-campus interviews, confident in my resume, confident in what I know as a head basketball coach, confident in the success that I've had. essentially really, really feeling good about if they're bringing me on campus, they probably want me to have this job, and I'm going to do my best and put my best foot forward. And when I'm offered this job, I want to have taken this interview as a recruit from a recruiting standpoint. So when these athletic directors are walking me around campus, I'm channeling my 18, 19-year-old self walking around this campus with my parents. Are the things here that I would want to see as a recruit? Because here in a couple months, when I am hired, I'm going to be walking these 18, 19-year-olds around. And if I don't see what I want to see as an interviewee, a coaching candidate, then these recruits that I'm walking around here in a couple months aren't going to see what they want to see. So I really take that approach. Like if I were a recruit right now with my parents, is everything here that I would want? Administration, how are they? Obviously, that's a given. You have to have great administration, a supportive administration, facilities, campus life, dining options, where they're living. Are they in dorms or are they in apartments? Scholarship, numbers. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just like, oh, do they wear Nike and how much am I getting paid? No, that's not how I take jobs. I take jobs like I am a top player in the country. And can I get those kids here at Buffalo? And right here at Buffalo, the answer was absolutely yes. But you could go all the way back to my time at Charleston. I'm walking around that campus like, can I recruit the best Division II players in the country to come here to Charleston? And the answer was yes. And that gives me my clarity of like, okay, this is a job that I can take and I can win at, because I know I'm going to get these kids on campus. I know I can recruit my butt off. And when they get here, is this somewhere that they're going to say yes? And that's how I go about it, genuinely.
Next job, Upstate. The first, year or two, are always tough as you're, setting the tone and culture of your program, finding players that fit your style. You've made the jump at that point in your career a couple times. Now you're at the Division I level. Tell me, some things you had to adjust from the group you had when you first got there, from a mental and physical side, because that program at that point before wasn't really dominating that, a conference, and you wanted to really turn the corner, for lack of better terms there. So, first year, setting the tone, what did you do? Why did it work?
Yeah, I mean, in our first year at Upstate, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say anything worked. But that's a situation that I was in that I had not been in before. When it comes to my players and when it comes to what I was able to do when I took the job. So when you look at Embry-Riddle, I was able to build a team from scratch. So I had all my players immediately. When you talk about the University of Charleston, I had an athletic director that hired me and gave me freedom to bring in transfers, to, essentially make decisions from a roster standpoint that I needed to make when I first got there in order to be successful right away. When I got to USC Upstate, I did not have that freedom. I did not have an athletic director that allowed me to make changes or shape my roster the way that I wanted to shape it. And I knew that going in, and he had told me, look, here's the kids that are signed and they're going to stay signed and they're going to remain here and you're going to coach them for your first year. And so that was foreign territory to me, to truly take a job, not bring one player with me, not have an opportunity to bring one or two kids. And it was genuinely set in stone and concrete what I was going to have for that first year. And they were phenomenal young women, and they were just such a joy to coach and to be around. And we didn't have issues, off the court and things like that. So I was very, very blessed from that standpoint. But if we're being real, there was a ceiling talent wise. There was, and luckily going into year two, there was an understanding that, we could really do the things that we needed to do from a roster standpoint to have success in year two and bring in a lot of the players that we needed to bring in from a talent standpoint in order to have success. So year one, we coached our butts off. They played their butts off. They gave us great effort. They did their absolute best. And I'm so thankful to that first group. And then in year two, again, able to bring in a lot of really, really good brand new players. And sometimes you could play your butt off. You can do the best you can. You can know the scouting report, but if you have a ceiling talent wise, it's pretty tough. And so year two, we were able to fix that a little bit and have a ton of success.
Another question for young coaches. So you've been a head coach a couple times now, and you've been through the process of starting a staff and a team from scratch. So, one of the best lessons one of my mentors told me is, while a lot of people do, and it's okay to make connections and say hello to people while you're at the live period, it's so important for you to be doing your job, because I feel like people are always watching you. So I say that to say this: Upstate, Buffalo, um, you're curating your staff. You know, part one, do you have a list? And the second part is, what are you looking for? Like when develop your staff at Buffalo or Upstate or whatever the case may be, were you the type of person that took calls, made calls, already had your list of people? What were the character traits you were looking for? Like, just tell me about that, your process, because I think a lot of young coaches like, well, if I do this, that'll get me picked. Or if I go here and win, that'll get me picked. But like, it's a delicate balance, because sometimes it's like who like, so I guess tell me what went through your mind when, developing a staff, and, the pros, the cons, what we should be doing, what we should not be doing, things like that.
Yeah, I think for me, you nailed it. It's who you know, because I've always got a short list, just in my mind of, if I have an opening in the next couple of years, because at the end of the day, our job is to develop our assistants and help them achieve their goals and whatever those are. So I don't expect to have a staff in place for the next 10 years that never changes, right? Where they're constantly in and out, and assistants are taking other opportunities and moving on and becoming head coaches and that type of thing. And I take pride in that. If you have an opportunity to do that, I did my job and I helped you out a little bit, hopefully. But when it comes to hiring, like, to me, loyalty is my first and foremost. Yes, I want your opinions basketball wise. Yes, I want you to give your thoughts and your opinions and have drills for me and go and work kids out and do that type of thing. Loyalty is number one and recruiting is number two. And so I would say for me, it's very rare that I'm going to have somebody on my staff that I don't, one, personally know, or two, have somebody that I do personally know and trust to the highest degree give me their full recommendation on you. So like it's very, very rare. I think this is more times than not that I'm just going to see a resume and hire somebody just from that. I need to either know you personally, or I need to know somebody that knows you, because that loyalty piece, that work ethic piece, tell me if they're going to run through the fire with me, right? And stay firm and steady and ride for me and have my back as a head coach and truly do those things. And that comes with time, that comes with relationships, that comes with, just backgrounds with people. And so, the loyalty piece for me is first and foremost. And I don't think you get that by a complete stranger, no matter how good at X's and O's they are, or how much they know about basketball. To me, that is the most important thing. And then you have to be able to recruit your butt off. So if I know you or know somebody that knows of you and the character piece checks out, and I know you're going to be loyal and I know you're going to have my back, because I'm always going to do the same for you. Can you recruit? Because this is all about recruiting. This is all about players. I don't care how many plays I can draw. I don't care how smart I am. If I don't have players, we're not going to win basketball games. So those two things would be my top two things that I look for when I'm forming my staff. I got to trust you. You got to trust me. And then I have to trust that you can evaluate talent, form relationships with that talent, get kids here on campus, and I'll do the rest. And I think that's like the two main things that I look for.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Couple more questions, Coach. I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. So you were recently selected as a head coach at Buffalo, successful at Upstate. Why Buffalo? Why didn't it make sense? Why was this the time?
Yeah, Buffalo is the premier team in the Mid-American Conference. 5 out of the last 6 years we've played in the NCAA tournament. As recently as 2018, they played in a Sweet 16. This is a program that has every single thing in place that we need to be successful, from a resource standpoint, from a campus life standpoint, how we travel, how we dress, our administration, the way they live off campus. there is nothing here that says that we can't continue the success that they've sustained for the last 5, 6, 7 years. I've never had the opportunity to come in and take over a program that's had success. Everything that I've taken over has been a complete rebuild, a complete, damage control situation. And now, even though we only have 2 returning players and it is a complete rebuild, it's a rebuild at a place that has sustained success, has national recognition. We play in one of the best mid-major conferences in the entire country. We want to recruit the best players in the country because they want to win MAC championships and they want to go play in the NCAA tournament. And if you just look at the last 5, 6, 7 years here at Buffalo, it's just what we do here. We win MAC championships and we go play in the NCAA tournament. So when we sit a kid down on these couches and their parents are here and we say, what do you want? And they say, well, I want to win a championship. Okay, you have an opportunity every single year to do that in the MAC, which don't get me wrong, is tough. It's an incredible league. But then when you do win that championship, you have an opportunity to go play against the big dogs in the NCAA tournament. And Buffalo doesn't just get a 16 seed and go get smacked and go home. Like Buffalo wins 1, 2, 3 games in the tournament, makes noise. And like I said, has some national recognition. So I'm fortunate to be able to wear this on my shirt and people know who it is and what it is. And, I believe that we were chosen to come here because we're the staff that's going to make sure that the level of success stays here in Buffalo. And like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited about this first year, what we've done in the portal to be able to compete right away. And then I think we've knocked our 2023 class out of the park. So I'm very, very excited for that.
You mentioned the portal. Tell me your thoughts on that. What are the pros and cons of it? Do you think it's best that the players can jump right in and play? Do you think that they should sit a year? It's a very player friendly, I would say, new situation. So just give me your honest thoughts about that. And do you like the, for lack of better terms, the progression in regards to the transfer portal?
Yeah. I don't even love giving my 2 cents on it because I think everybody has their opinions. I think everybody hates it, loves it. It doesn't matter what I think because it is what it is. And what Becky Burke thinks is not going to change what happens with the landscape of the transfer portal. So I don't necessarily even spend a whole lot of time just thinking about it or worrying about it. It is what it is. Tell me exactly what the rules are. Tell me exactly what I need to abide by and what these players have freedoms to do and what they don't have freedoms to do. And then that's what I adapt to. And it just goes back to the way that I've, spent my whole career. Tell me what we have, tell me what the situation is, and I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure that I adapt around it and figure out the best way to navigate it. So I like some things about it, don't like other things about it. I think there's positives, I think there's negatives, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think. It really doesn't. I have absolutely no say in what happens here. And I think a lot of people spend so much time on their opinions and on their thoughts. And, respectfully, no individual is going to change these rules and no individual is going to change the landscape of the transfer portal, no matter how much we tweet or complain or, rave about it. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. So who's going to navigate it the best? Who's going to find comfort in the landscape of the transfer portal? And it's benefited me a ton in my career so far in just these first couple of years. And it's also hurt me a little bit. And so I think that's just going to the way that it's going to carry on. I don't think any coach is going to say it's just absolutely killed me and crushed my teams, because it's also going to help you some too. You're going to get that impact transfer as well. So, it is what it is. And the teams that are going to continue to have success are going to be the ones that embrace it and just find comfort in this new landscape and how we can navigate it the best to benefit our programs.
Last question. I have family in Niagara Falls. I come up, Buffalo's playing Kent State. Buffalo pulls the win. All right. Walk into my car, open the door, and as I'm sitting in my car, I'm thinking about Buffalo. What do you want me to think? Buffalo is this. Buffalo is that. What do you want me to feel in my heart about your team?
Oh, Buffalo is tough. Buffalo plays hard as heck for 40 minutes, makes everything difficult, scrappy, blue collar. I mean, that's a tough group of girls that just walked out to the bus, bloody, bruised. I mean, that's got to be who we are, because I think talent is just not enough. It's just not. Talent is never enough. It might be cliche. It might sound just like everybody says it, but it's absolutely 100% true, because the talent level is going to be so close so many nights that we have to win every single intangible category that we can control. Our toughness, being ready to play, our sleep the night before, our competitive nature, that dog in you, that togetherness, like all that stuff, that tilts the scale, because like I said, from a talent standpoint, it's here every single night in the MAC. But our toughness is gonna bring us here, and then our togetherness is gonna bring us here, and then our willingness to run through a wall for each other is gonna bring us here, and then that's how you win basketball games at this level, because it's too close. Everybody, coaching staffs are too good, players are too good. Everybody recruits their butt off. Everybody's got a great game plan. So what are those things that can tilt the scale? I just want people to say, like, man, that team plays so hard, and I have no doubt that they will.
Mm-hmm. I'm long-winded. I do a lot of the question asking. This is your time. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Something you want to share? A favorite book? A question you may want to ask? Anything that's on your mind that I may have missed? I try to cover a lot, but this is your time. If you do have something you want to say or anything like that.
Yeah, no, man. I just, I think, just the emphasis on like young coaches coming up. I hope I can be a resource, and I love just interacting. I love the fact that you asked me to come on, and I'm so willing to like help in any way that I can young coaches. I still am a young coach. I just turned 32 years old, and like I'm probably the youngest Division I coach in the country right now. I don't claim to know it all, but I know my process. I know how I've gotten to where I am. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, good, bad, but like it's what got me here. And so I think sharing experiences with one another, helping each other out in this profession is going to help grow our game. So I want everybody to know that I am a resource. I am accessible. I do want to help. I do want people to reach out if they have any questions or any thoughts they want to bounce off me, because I can learn just as much from everybody else as they can from me. So just super fortunate in my path. Like I said, I've been pretty lucky, pretty blessed. And I know that my experiences can possibly help some other people. So I want everybody to know that this is about just the coaching community in general, and that how can we help one another? I think that's so important. So I just really appreciate you having me on. Let me share a little bit of my story and answer some questions and just give my 2 cents. And it's been super fun. So thank you.
No problem. All right, Coach, you have a good one.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.